Here, yeah, okay. So, good afternoon, Europe. It's so great to be here with you today. And as has been said already, my name is Ana Carosas, and I get to share with you today on 2 ways to inclusion and non-discrimination. I was born in Sweden, uh, and for the last 20 years, I've been living here in Lithuania. And 4 years ago, our fourth child was diagnosed with Down syndrome, a surprise diagnosis. And since then, we're also now in the process of adopting another little fellow, 2 years old, that also has Down syndrome. I want to have you give attention to the photos in this presentation because they're all connected to Instagram, and all of the people with Down syndrome in this presentation are from Lithuania, and we are very proud of them. So let's begin. So during the 1980s Olympics Games in Moscow, a journalist asked whether the Soviet Union would participate in the Paralympic Games, the first ones that were to be scheduled in the Netherlands later that same year. The answer from the Soviet representative was swift, firm, and puzzling. We don't have any invalids in the USSR. And so it appeared. And I know that some of you today live in countries which prompts or also have prompted until recently visiting foreigners to ask a question that I've often received. Where are all of your people with disabilities? You must have them too. And contrary to the Soviet representative and his claim, Lithuania did, but here they were not seen. And I must confess that for many years before my daughter was born, I would often say that I love living in Lithuania, but that I would consider moving back to Sweden should we have a child with a disability. Well, now we have two. But I happily report that I don't say that anymore because thankfully Lithuania is changing and I'm very positive about the direction we're going, although we do still have some mountains to climb. So as I see it, the changes that we desire come mainly through legislation and education. So our work is twofold. We need to, first of all, keep our government accountable to implement the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And it is very encouraging that this convention was the first human rights treaty to be ratified by the European Union as a whole. So we who work with disability rights, we are eager to see the results of this convention playing out across Europe to ensure that people with intellectual disabilities have the right to dignified lives and fundamental freedoms. So as the laws then foster inclusion and non-discrimination, we also need to go about education because we need to dispel the myths that still linger in society about Down syndrome. And it is we who know that people with Down syndrome are amazing that will have to speak up. My own work is mainly within education. I want to scream from the rooftops that Down syndrome is nothing to be afraid of, but something that can so enrich our lives if we only let it. And education happens on many levels. And on the grassroots level, it is we who are personally touched by Down syndrome that can play an important role in dispelling these stubborn misconceptions that Down syndrome is sad and scary. Usually people fear what they don't know. So together we can make it known that a diagnosis of Down syndrome does not equal game over, and that a life with Down syndrome is as meaningful and significant as any other. A wonderful way that we can educate and dispel myths is through social media to spread awareness, because let's face it, that's where society hangs out these days. And in Lithuania, Instagram is a great example. 4 years ago, when I searched for the Lithuanian hashtag of Down syndrome, which is Down syndromas, the search yielded 3 results, and they were all negative. One of them was simply a black photo, as if that somehow represents Down syndrome, and another one, even worse, a post from a diagnostics clinic which encouraged people to prevent to prenatal testing to prevent Down syndrome, as if it can be prevented by just detection. But today, and this is all also in Lithuania, 4 years later, there are almost 5,000 photos with this same Lithuanian hashtag, and they're all bubbling with positivity. And which also testify that families that live with Down syndrome live very normal and beautiful lives. Pearl Buck, Nobel laureate in literature, once said, "The test of a civilization is the way that it cares for its helpless members." And so this means that if we want our civilization to grow, the European Union, and if we want it to grow stronger, it is we, the people with power and platform and ability, that must pass this test to make sure that we acknowledge and make space for the people in the margins. And surely, it's not only people with Down syndrome who stand to win when we make space for them in our midst. We are also commonly deceived to seek above all fame and money and power and beauty. And in such a context, people with Down syndrome don't have much to compete with. But if we just stop to realize what is truly important in life, friendship, honesty, life without hypocrisy, and unconditional love, well, then people with Down syndrome can be our teachers. My kids are my teachers, and I wish for everyone to get the education that I get from them while by having the privilege of being included in their life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sana. That was so